Okay, so so there is one configuration called maintain drop course event categories, where you'll be configuring the reason for dropping.
Okay.
So this one maintain drop course event categories is one thing where you'll be configuring the reasons for dropping the course enrollment and all.
Okay. Maintain drop course event categories. Okay.
Yes, yeah. This one thing, which will ensure you. Before that, there is one more thing that you need to do to validate the course enrollment,
Mhm.
where error or warning will be triggering to an employee saying that you'll be not able to enroll, you'll be not able to drop this from the enrollment kind of thing. So once you have that one, this will allow you to select the reason for drop enrollment. So it will allow
Mm.
it will ask you the reason for which you have to drop the enrollment, and accordingly you will be select employee will be selecting uh, reason for dropping into the course.
Okay. So
Okay.
suppose, for example, if you're dropping, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So what you can do is you can just note down these configurations, and probably you can also see if you can test this when you're actually trying to do that in your tenant, like once you make this configuration, and when you're actually pick up any of the enrolled course and try to drop that enrollment from that particular course, and whatever the reasons that you're actually configuring, those needs to pop up when there is a drop that is going on for the course.
okay.
So once you configure this one, and there is a validation called maintain learning validations. Here you'll be selecting if you wanted to throw an error, you can actually configure this learning thing and
What is this?
make validation. If let's say if there is any required course that employee is assigned and employee is trying to actually drop from that one, there should be an error saying that you cannot drop from required courses kind of restriction. This will be validating. Okay.
Mhm.
So So this is a condition that you'll be configuring and maintain learning validations. And this is one thing, if you're actually configuring with critical validation, so employee will not be able to drop from the required course with the validation that you've done here. Or if you're actually configuring with warning, employee will be able to drop with a warning message. This is one thing, one thing that you need to
What
actually have.
condition you have given?
Sorry?
What is the condition you gave?
Condition that it gives, if employee is trying to enroll, trying to drop from the required learning enrollments, this error has to populate. So I've taken required learning enrollment, when there is a required learning enrollment, this error the error validation has to trigger and restrict employee to drop from the required learning enrollments.
Hmm.
Okay.
So you have given required learning enrollment equal to
Yes.
value specified in the filter comparison value. Yes means if it is required enrollment, yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So this is a Boolean value. This is a true or false condition. That is the reason why I've taken comparison value as yes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Hmm.
so this is one thing important validation for all course enrollments and drop enrollments kind of things. This is one important thing. If you have any requirement while you're enrolling into regular courses to validate, let's say, at management level for few courses, you wanted only manager to enroll or learning administrator to enroll. So for such kind of thing, you can go and write a validation rule that only if management level is greater than, or only if our role is learning administrator kind of things, you can give and actually make learning administrator or managers to enroll into that course.
Mhm.
Okay, that kind of validations also you can give for enrolling and for dropping. So just to connect the scenario, like for required courses, employee will not be allowed to drop. So if employee is trying to drop from the required learning, there has to be a kind of error saying that that you're not supposed to drop for the required learning courses that you are enrolled for, kind of message that has to trigger for an employee. Okay. Let's see if at least through mass enrollment, we'll try to enroll one of the candidate and see if we're able to, or else I'll get you a screenshots. Is there anything that I've changed?
Why are you changing the security policy?
I've not changed. I was checking the access part because the task is not accessible, so I'm verifying this person's security whether something has got changed.
So what is the maximum access? Is it learning administrator?
Yes, learning administrator is one thing, for learning you need to have.
So implementers have the maximum access, not the learning admin, right?
Implementers are actually they have complete control. So they will be setting up access for learning administrator. Before learning administrator, implementers are the people who are actually implementing learning, and they should have
Mm.
complete control over the tenant. So they'll be a kind of master users, I can say, will be controlling entire workday from implementing area.
Mm.
Once they implement and they go off from the picture, their learning administrator will be coming into picture, who will be actually doing all the administrative activities related to learning.
Mm.
There's something wrong with this. I don't know what kind of setup is missing here. Probably we need to actually see. BP level we have given, domain we have given. So actually, managing these domains related to mass enrollment to see if those are actually restricted. Actually, those settings are missed actually. And there is a domain called. Okay. So, okay. There we have not given, I believe. Nothing is there here. This entire is actually a dummy tenant. No, nothing is there.
Hmm. So when you're doing a mass enroll, you have to select by location or organization hierarchy, supervisory organization, right?
No, no. When you're there are two tasks. So mass enrollment by role, mass enroll is one of the tasks. So when you actually try to enroll by mass enroll, you'll be getting a list of all the employees. From there, you'll be selecting all those employees and enroll into the course. This is one thing by role. So when you go with mass enroll by role, you have to select the organization, and from that organization, you need to pick that employee. So two ways. One is there is straight task called mass enroll. So when you go with the task, you'll be getting a list of all the employees with check boxes, for each employee. So you can select as many as how you want the check boxes and do a kind of mass enroll activity with one go. Or if you wanted to do for specific organizations or specific roles or specific location people, this is one thing. This is the task that you can actually choose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is one thing we need to do. I don't know why where this tenant is actually gone blank with all. So we are assigning all the required security.
So it's a business process, is it? Mass enroll.
Yes, every task is actually BP in Workday. So whatever you manage in Workday, everything in the background, and there will be a business process. So you need to actually give the required security for all the business process, and that will ensure you to actually perform that task in Workday.
Mm-hmm.
Every task, create Workday account or enroll into learning content or drop into the learning content, all those are business process. Let's say now I was actually showing you the drop, right? So you need to actually go to the drop. Who has to do a kind of drop and drop learning things? Here you'll be giving all the security. Drop learning enrollment. Who has to drop from the learning enrollment? What do you need to give? You need to give employee as self. Every employee will be having permissions to get dropped, and obviously learning administrator will be having permissions to drop employee, and yeah, mostly a learning admin and employee will be having. In certain cases, manager will be having access to drop for certain enrollments. All
What
the
is the
below
difference
things are
between
okay.
job based? When you
What
selected
is that?
manager, you had
Hmm.
unconstrained, the job based. What is
That
the
is a
meaning of?
security group actually. That is a security group when you're actually creating security groups. So you have for every security group you have two types of security groups. One is constrained, the other one is unconstrained. So constrained will be having limitations in accessing the data. You need to specify only specific organization, and when
Mm,
you create the security group, that security group will be having only permissions to access data related to that security that organization. But unconstrained will not have that kind of restrictions, will be having complete access over the tenant, for the domains that you are assigning. Let's say, okay, so I've
where
created
do we?
manager.
Mm,
We are creating in a manager constrained security group, and now when you're actually adding um, this security group to personal information, okay, so now people who are assigned with manager constrained security group will be able to see the personal information of the organization that you have selected while you are creating that security group. And when you are actually accessing the same with unconstrained security group, unconstrained security group will not have any limitations. They can access across the tenant, whatever the personal information that is there, they can access to every employee, but constraint will be restricted to only specific organization. That you'll be
Mm.
having while you're creating security groups. You'll be having that task or that area where you'll specify specific organization. These are all you'll not see in real time. People who are actually doing some kind of training, they would have created this one. Okay,
Mhm.
so you have only manager role-based security group. That's it. For every manager with role, you'll be assigning that role-based security.
Mm.
So now, now with this change, employee should be able to drop the enrollment from the course, because we have given a security for an employee to drop the course from there. But there are certain validations that we have given. So if it is a required learning course, employee will be getting an error saying that you're not supposed to drop from the required learning content, kind of error that employee will be getting.
Mm.
Okay.
So required learning will be only when it is assigned through an admin, right?
So not only admin, when you're actually enrolling, okay, when learning admin is trying to enroll, or when manager is trying to enroll a group of people, first option that manager will be getting is, or learning administrator will be getting is, do you want to assign this course as a required learning content or no? So if people select as required learning, that enrollment will be marked as a required learning content, and employee should be able to view that information in their required list of courses in their dashboard.
Okay. Anything which is self-assigned will not be a required learning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now,
Those are
so
the tasks. Probably what you can do is maintain drop course event categories and maintain learning validations. These two things, probably what you can do is, you can try to configure this in your non-production environment. Let's say it is sandbox or implementation. Configure these two and see if you're trying to drop any employee from any enrollment, this validation error should come. Okay. I'll
what is
try
it?
to get you. Yeah.
You are saying maintain? Which one?
Maintain drop course event categories. Maintain
Okay.
drop course event categories and maintain learning validations. These are the two tasks where you'll be in maintain learning validation. You'll be writing a condition for all the required learning courses. Employees should not
Mm.
have access to drop. So you have seen, right? I've selected a field called required learning enrollment and
Mm.
marked as yes. And when you add this to maintain learning validation, there will be a kind of error showing that employee will not be dropping from the required learning content.
Mm. Mm.
So that is these are the two things that you need to actually. Not sure whether your tenant has been configured with this or with the type of questions that are configured for drop. But yeah, if it is not, you can consider this one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll check it
Okay.
out today.
Okay, and there are a few more configurations. Create learning prerequisite rule. Okay.
Mhm.
So what this configuration does is, let's say if you have any course, okay, that has to be completed only before completing one of our other course. Okay,
Mhm.
without that that particular code, let's say code of conduct is there. Okay, so in order to complete the code of conduct training, there is a kind of prerequisite completion that has to be set up. Okay, only after that prerequisite complete, this code of conduct can be accessed to complete that one. So that kind of setup, you'll be actually managing here. Okay,
Mhm.
target content, let's say if I take I think we have only two courses in the tenant. I'll take, so I have taken code of conduct as a kind of course. It's a prerequisite. So, so compliance course. Okay. So now what this will happen is when you make this one, when employee, when employee
Mhm.
has to complete this one, he has to complete this one. Compliance course has to complete. So without that, if employee is trying to complete code of conduct, there will be a kind of error message. There is a prerequisite configured for this course. You have to complete compliance course first before you complete code of conduct. Kind of message, you'll be seeing. So create learning prerequisite rule is one of the validation configuration
Mhm.
that you'll be configuring. I think this also should have been configured in your tenant, but if this is not, you can suggest this setting as well. Okay, so let's say kind of most of the courses will be having a kind of prerequisites. Employee has to get these kind of eligibility to
Mhm.
to complete these certain courses, kind of prerequisites will be there. So for such kind of things, this will be a kind of helpful configuration which you can consider.
Okay. It's a prerequisite. Okay.
Yes, yeah, prerequisite kind of rule. Okay,
So the
and probably
target
you can,
content, uh,
yes,
like for example, if you want to enroll or if you want to complete the code of conduct, you have to complete the
yes,
compliance
compliance,
code. The
compliance
setting,
course, yeah,
right?
yes, yeah, that kind of validation, that kind of rule, that you would have
Okay.
configured. So when employee is doing that, you can actually
Mm.
you can actually configure this one.
So what does this mean? Target content means the course you will not be able to enroll or you will not be able to complete.
Able to
What is
complete. So here we have selected complete, right? Qualifier. If you select enroll, that also will work.
no,
So in
no, no.
qualifier,
What
you.
I'm saying is, if I have not completed the compliance course,
Mhm.
this condition does that mean that I will not be able to even see the
Complete.
enroll button for code of conduct? Enroll?
No, no, you'll be not able to complete. Okay, you'll be not able to, once these are enrolled, you'll be not able to submit the completion. You'll be getting a kind of validation error saying that compliance course is a prerequisite for this one that has to be completed before you complete code of conduct one.
Mm, I doubt because if you're already launching the SCOM content, then if you're allowed to launch it, that means that you can complete that also, right? that doesn't mean that the SCORM content will check the setting of learning.
So there are two kind of things here. Where is this one? Edit. Yeah. So you have two things here. Has enrolled and has completed. Okay, if you're selecting this one at enrollment level, you can actually bypass this thing. And if you're actually doing that at completion level, so before, let's say you've taken complete course and you're clicking the submit button to mark it as a complete. Okay, there you'll be getting a kind of message. There is a prerequisite for this course, and that has to be completed. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
This is one of the important configuration as well, which you need to actually check. With most of the stakeholders will be having this. They'll not be getting this requirement during implementation, but after going live, they'll be getting this. Is there a way that we can restrict kind of thing or not?
Okay.
Okay. This is one thing probably you can test, and I can. If you're seeing any kind of discrepancy, I'll get you a kind of job aid for this as well. So if enrollment works, I think I should be able to do anything. But if enrollment itself is not working in this tenant, I think that's right from the scratch. Learning setup has to be made. Or so I was actually trying to enroll based on supervisor organization. Looks like there is no supervisor organization at least created in this tenant. There is a reason I'm not able to actually pick any employee based on supervisor organization also. There is no organization. No worker. No employees are there. So I think this tenant is actually a kind of dummy tenant. I believe there is no data in this tenant. So no employees are there, no organizations are there, nothing is there. And to do that one, we don't have an access because they've given the only few security groups and they've blocked the security. They've blocked the security not to perform any kind of security changes to this tenant to the user level. So their worry is we'll be creating multiple users and we'll be creating accounts, for that user. Probably that would be their worry, but that is actually restricting few tasks, that we can manage. But yeah, so those three configurations which I've asking you, right? Just go through them and see if you're able to perform. One is maintain learning validations. The other one is drop course event categories, and the other one is prerequisite for learning content. Okay, which you can consider. So these three, you can see if you're able to do that in your non-production tenant. If it is not configured, okay, probably anything would have configured in your tenant, but just check that part. And if nothing is there, nothing is configured, you can configure and test these things and come up with any kind of questions that you may have. Okay. Okay.
Now we
And
have a thing called as cancellation policy
what cancellation policy?
for enrollments, meaning for the
Drop
users.
enrollment.
No,
Drop is one thing.
no. For example, if the user is enrolling for a course which is
Mm-hmm.
charged, okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so he needs to read through the cancellation policy, right? More than 30 days, you'll be charged 50%. Sorry, you'll not be charged. Less than 30 days, you'll be charged 75%. You'll be charged 25%. Less than 15 days, you'll be charged full tuition fees. Like this cancellation policy, how we can enter
Uh,
so that you can see.
tuition tuition fees amount and all, you'll be not having this in learning. Probably that you'll be seeing in some accounts things and all. But if you wanted to set kind of within 50 days, if you wanted to amount things and all, full refund
That's
kind
okay.
of things,
Amount,
you'll be not
not
able to
necessarily
configure.
amount has to be deducted. Not
But
necessarily
yeah,
amount has to be deducted. At least for the user to know what is the charge like that. At least user to know. Just the text to pop up when they're canceling or when they're dropping their enrollment.
no, no, no. See, one thing is mainly for for cost-related courses, employee will not have a control there. Okay, so manager will be enrolling, and manager will be actually getting that learning enrollment completed. So employee will not have that for cost associate courses, they'll not themselves go and enroll into that particular course. So once a manager enroll that one, employee should be able to go that and take that course. After manage as enrolled, and still due to some reasons manager wanted to drop that learning, manager will be taking care of that one and dropping that course, and will be going for another session kind of things and all. There will be multiple reasons for getting dropped, which is not intended or which is not required for that employee. All those reasons, drop reasons you'll be selecting, and that reason employee will be selecting or manager will be selecting while dropping that enrollment. And
Okay.
for your question, if there is any cost thing, that employee should be aware of the cost, and employee should be notified, not to miss this thing, because this much is the cost of the course kind of thing. What you'll be doing is you'll be configuring alert, not alert, you'll be configuring notification for that BP. Okay, for that BP you'll be actually configuring alert a notification saying that when there is a due date that comes for that particular course, a notification has to be triggered. You have a course that is costing this much, and that you're enrolled for this course, and this has to be completed before the due date kind of information, and you'll be getting as part of a notification configuration for that particular BP.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So you're saying that you can edit a business process step for drop to trigger a notification,
No notification, yeah. So what you can do is just go to drop BP,
or else so notification. Okay.
drop is there. You go to BP.
What if I want to give an alert on the screen, not the notification? Because notification will go to your email and it will be there in
No,
your bell icon, right?
notification will go to your this thing you'll be getting here. You'll be notification will be coming here.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't want like that. I want it like an alert on the screen while he's dropping.
So what you need to do is you need to actually alert means there has to be a report. Okay, so there has to be a
Mm-hmm.
report in the background for alert.
Mm-hmm.
When you're actually configuring alert, there has to be a report in the background. It will ask you for a report name. Okay, so you need to actually but this will not work dynamically. Okay, so once employee has dropped, okay, your report will capture that information, and that report will be sending an alert. This is a kind of cost information of the course that you're dropping, or you dropped, and all this
Oh,
kind of custom content, you'll be actually
oh,
configuring
okay, okay.
at report level.
So ideally, you can't schedule an alert because it is not dynamic, right?
No.
Okay, okay. You have to go for the business process step only in that case, as you said,
Yeah,
right?
yes, for real-time scenarios that if you wanted to restrict for live transaction, BP would be
Yeah.
a kind of thing. But if you wanted to send a kind of static email notification for employee Outlook when something
Mm.
has happened, based on the report updates, that information will be sent to employee Outlook uh,
Mm.
with all the custom content that you'll be providing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is one thing that you'll be configuring. Notifications as per your need at BP level. Okay. and alerts at report level you'll be configuring, and report will be picking all the information, all the intended employees, and for those employees an alert will be sent to their Outlook with all the information that you'll be providing.
Mm.
Okay. So these are mostly used configurations in Workday Learning. Just to see if your tenant is already configured. If not, just try to configure these things and come up with any questions that you'll be having. In this tenant, probably I'll be not able to show whether it is working or not, but I'll be getting you kind of job aid document, for these three configurations, in detail, for just as a kind of reference for you. Okay.
Okay, yeah, that will help. Yes.
And the next topic would be a kind of custom reports. So custom reports related to learning. Okay. So basically, since
Okay.
you also asked something related to calc fields, so we'll see. Uh, since there is no learning data, but we'll try to see. Let's say first, let me explain. So whenever you are actually creating report, okay, whenever you are actually creating report, you need to specify in Workday what data that you wanted to report and what you need to pick. Let's say if you're creating a report and you're needing, employee personal information, okay, employee personal
Mm.
information, if you're needing, from where this data has to come, employee personal information, from employee only, from employee profile this has to pick. So you need to
Correct.
actually know from which source that you need to pick the data. Okay, like personal
Mhm.
information you'll be getting from employee or worker. Okay, so worker is the source that you need to take. Okay, let's say
Okay.
if you wanted to take all the dependent information of an employee. Okay, dependents, what
Mm.
are the who are all the dependents of an employee, what is the relationship of a dependent, and what is the relationship of employee and dependent, whether it's child or spouse or parents kind of relationship that you wanted to know, and all the dependent contact information. What should be the source? Dependent should be the source, no?
Mm.
Dependent should be a kind of table that has to be a kind of source from where all the dependent information has to come. Similarly, all the learning things. Okay, so if you wanted to pick all the enrollments information, so learning enrollment is a kind of source, that you need to actually see. Source, that you need to pick, and where you'll be seeing all the learning enrollment information here. What is the status of the enrollment? What is the employee who has enrolled, enrolled into that particular course? And if you wanted to filter the course, you can do that one. And what is the completion date of this enrollment? And what are the credits that are actually assigned for this learning enrollments? All this information you'll be getting from learning enrollment. And similarly, if you go to there is a standard report called data sources.
Mhm.
Okay. If you are actually asked to create any report in Workday Learning, okay. So if since
Mm.
you're new to Workday and you're not aware of creating report and all, and you don't know what data source has to be chosen for the requirement that you got, just access the standard report, okay, data sources, and enter for learning.
Mm.
Okay, so these are all the sources that you have in Workday Learning area. Okay,
Okay.
so all these are the learning data sources from which you can create reports. Okay, so learning enrollment, which I was saying you, which will return all the enrollments and all. So if you wanted to pick the group of learning instructors who are available in tenant, you'll be getting learning instructors. So similarly, all other categories you'll be actually creating. If you wanted to pull extended learners who are not employees in Workday but are extended learners, you'll be actually selecting this source. So whichever data that you're actually looking for, based on that
Mm.
data, you'll be accessing the source, and that source will be returning you that relevant information that you're actually looking for. Okay.
How do I find out what source has what fields in it?
If you select this one, let's say learning enrollment, I'll be selecting. Okay, I've selected learning enrollment. The business object for learning enrollment is learning enrollment. Okay.
Okay, what is the difference between, now it is confusing actually. What is the difference between data source and a business object?
Yeah, good question. So business object is a kind of table. Okay, is a
Hmm.
table which will be holding all the relevant source information. Okay, table. So the model that we have in Workday is the moment you create anything in Workday, you
Hmm.
create an employee, or you create any compensation event, or you create any compensation grade, or you create any learning enrollment and all, will be sitting in particular table. Okay, the table is
Hmm.
nothing a kind of business object. Okay, so when I say
Hmm.
that if you wanted to return the personal information of an employee, if you wanted to
Hmm.
return compensation even of an employee, if you wanted to return any kind of employment details of an employee, there has to be a source, and that source has to be part of one table. Okay, so personal information I'm saying like it will be coming from worker profile, right? So worker should be a kind of business object. It should not be a kind of dependent business object. Let's say now, let me go into creation of report screen, create custom report. So now let's say if you're looking for, so if you're looking for employee personal information, employee information. Okay, so now I've selected so you'll be getting list of or I can go for all workers kind of source. And once you select any of the source here and get into report definition page, you'll be seeing the business object for the source. Okay, so this is the business object for all workers, because we have selected worker all workers information, where you'll be getting all the worker related fields here. Okay, and where that object will be sitting in worker object, worker table. Okay, worker table, worker object, which will be holding all the information related to worker, related to dependents, related to compensation, related to performance, related to worker employee information. All this information you'll be choosing. For an example, okay, for example, so your business object is worker. Okay, now you wanted to return only active employees in your report. Okay, so now worker is an umbrella. Okay, worker will be holding active employees, worker will be holding terminated employees, worker will be holding retirees, worker will be holding everyone. But now when you're choosing that you wanted to have only active employees, you need to pick the right source. Okay, so the source for your report should be active employees.
So you are saying, mm, worker is a bigger, uh, I mean, all the
Table
data
actually,
will be under worker. Sorry, all the
yes,
data sources will be under business object.
business
So
object.
business
Data
object
source
is
is
a parent and data source is a child.
Yes, data source is nothing but a kind of view of your business object. So your business object will not show you in your report, but your data source, your data is a kind of view of your business object. So data source will be viewing all the information that is sitting in the business object. Okay. So let's say worker is one. If you wanted to view all active employees, you're viewing all active employees. Now, if you wanted to view only terminated employees, you can select the data source for all terminations. All terminations, if you select the source, you'll be getting only terminations. If you wanted to get only contractors, okay, you select all contingent workers. And if you wanted to select only all retiree information, you don't want any active, but you wanted to have only retirees, you'll be getting all the retirees. So your worker will be holding all this information, but your source is one thing, what you wanted to view, which you'll be selecting right source in your report while you're creating.
But you will
Next.
select the, you will not select the business object in report, right? You will select
No,
the
you
source.
will not select business object. You'll just select the source, and that source will return the business object in your report definition page.
So how do I know which source to select when I'm creating any course?
That based on number of reports that you create, based on the kind of experience that you gain in managing reports, you'll be getting
Hmm.
what source has to be selected. And that's the reason why in the initial stage, since you're not aware of the sources that are available, you can go to the standard report called data sources. And if anyone asks you to create a report, hey, if anyone comes to you, hey, can you get me the list of enrollments that are in completion status? Okay, if you get such kind of things, and you don't know what source that you need to pick, okay, but you know what data has to be returned, you know that, but you don't know how to create that or what source has to be chosen. So you can initially, since you're not aware of terminology of reporting, you can go to this report data source and filter for learning. You can pick any of the relevant thing, learning enrollments you can check, and go ahead with creating reports and all. Okay. So only for a certain point of time you'll be unclear with, but once you get flexibility and have good hands-on, you'll be able to identify what source has to be taken and what business has to be selected, what type of data source has to be chosen. You'll be able to understand that clearly once you get so at least some hands-on in managing reports.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
So in learning, I think we have around 6 to 7 kind of reports that mostly work for all the learning business users and learning administrators to return the data. So probably we'll focus on few different scenarios of returning data. But first, I'll conceptually create one basic report out of learning